Well, we got word from our next guest who's running for county assessor that he was knocking on doors, and somebody said, you should get on the McGraw show. And he called up, and we said, absolutely. Peter Pfeifer, candidate for St. Louis County assessor. Is that a somewhat true story?
That's an absolutely true story, McGraw. Good morning.
Yeah, you were knocking on doors, and somebody said you should call up McGraw.
That's a very true story. I'm not going to disclose who it was.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
But we'll just say, not everything is digitized these days, and paperwork still has to be filed.
And you're out knocking on doors.
Absolutely, have to. You're campaigning. I'm campaigning.
Yeah. St. Louis County assessor, you're going to be going up against Jake Zimmerman. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In terms of full disclosure, Jake Zimmerman at one point was my attorney. However, I did not know about it at the time, so I don't want to get yelled at, and I wanted to be as honest and forthcoming as possible. Peter Pfeifer, why would you want to be county assessor?
Well, I'm running to be St. Louis County assessor because assessments are out of whack. A market appraisal and an appraisal by the St. Louis County assessor are different, and they should be different. Mm-hmm. Comparable sales is probably the laziest way to determine what the value of property is by the first step in the taxation process, what the assessor represents, the first step.
So what you're saying is when you go and refinance your house, you go and get an assessment or you go and get an appraisal, that appraisal being whatever it is, then the St. Louis County assessor uses that appraisal to then set whatever rate it would be for your house.
Well, essentially, however, when you sell a house, that's when it becomes a sale, a comparable sale.
Sure.
If you reappraise your house for your own financial purposes, I don't know if the assessor gets that information or not.
So only on a sale. So I'm sitting next to somebody who hasn't sold their house in 40 years. Their house, according to county records, is $20,000. I bought mine last year. My house is $300,000.
It's going to have a huge impact on the neighbor who's been there for 40 years and maybe hasn't changed out the electrical panel, doesn't have a bathroom in the basement, hasn't done anything in 40 years. But his value has gone up, and maybe that person's even on a fixed income. And they don't have a predictable pattern of taxes that they can look to pay for their property taxes.
So how do you solve the problem?
Well, that's a great question, and that's one of the things I want to bring to the table. As you know, Jefferson City's run by the Republicans, and I think there's a legitimate push that I can make as the advocate in the assessor's office to the state reps and state senators to cap assessments on seniors.
Yeah, so it wouldn't matter what the value of the house was. Once you reach a certain age, it would be capped.
Correct. If you're on a fixed income, and we'll let the smart guys in Jeff City figure out what's the best.
Right.
But I think it is if you're on a fixed income of whatever kind, for whatever reason, if it's disability or if it's being a widow, a widower, whatever the case might be, if you're limited in your income, that your assessment should be capped. Okay, if you are capping one group, then I'm assuming the other group's going to be paying the difference. Well, that's great, and our esteemed assessor currently has just done that with the poor folks that got flooded out. He said that he was going to give them a break. If they're not able to occupy their homes, why should they be taxed on it? Well, McGraw, what happened during COVID? How many places were shut down? How many businesses were shuttered and not able to occupy the spaces? Yeah, I get it. But I mean, but when you cap one, I mean, this is the inherent problem with a property tax in and of itself. What do you do with somebody who's going to a 4-day school day or week? Do you give the people a 20% property tax cut because the kids are only going to school 4 days a week? Well, it's also an interesting question. The assessor's office sets the value. The assessor does not set tax rate. The assessor does not collect the taxes. So the taxing entities themselves are responsible to the voters. Right. All the assessor does is try and assess a value to a house. You're right in that inherently it's ridiculous and it's absurd for one person to be elected to sort of arbitrarily decide how much your house is worth versus the person down the street. I mean, it's a pretty ridiculous and comical system. Well, I don't want to say, this is some folly I'm running for. No. I get it. I mean, somebody has to be county assessor in doing it, but it's just a very odd, strange, and difficult job to do. Yeah, and it's only been about 12, maybe 14 years total that the assessor's been in an elected position in St. Louis County.
Yeah.
And the current county assessor's been doing it wrong for 12 years.
Let's talk about you. You were in real estate?
Yeah, I still am. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I've been doing that since 1999. Learn from the best. Yeah. If you look up gentlemen and you're Funkin' Wagnall, you'll find a picture of Ben Hilliker.
Who was that?
Ben Hilliker is Hilliker Corporation.
Gotcha.
And I learned from the best. And the other fellow brokers there that are notable, H. Mead Summers III and Hal Ball. I don't know if you know those guys, but they're excellent brokers.
Yeah. Born and raised in St. Louis?
Born and raised here. I'm a real SOB, McGraw. I'm a son of a baker.
Okay.
My folks had a bakery on Clayton Road, Pfeiffer's Party Pastries.
Oh, yeah, sure. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Clayton High School.
Clayton High School. All right. Did you go to college?
I did.
Where'd you go?
Forest Park Community College.
Forest Park Community College. Pulled yourself up by the bootstraps.
That's the only way to do it, McGraw.
Yeah. Married, kids?
I was married for almost 20 years and 2 daughters.
Okay.
Both are swimmers.
Okay.
And one of them just graduated from the University of Texas with a mechanical engineering degree after swimming also for 4 years for the University of Texas.
Beautiful. So let's talk about the commercial real estate for just a second. COVID's changed the whole world. A lot of people aren't working back at the office. Where does commercial real estate stand here in the region?
Well, it's a great question. Is it changing? You know, there's people that are probably on the front of guessing what's going on. Right. And as you walk into the studio today, you can dodge all the real estate signs that are out there. You got your CBRE, you've got your Cushman Wakefield. And people are looking to refill these office buildings that they were shut out of. Yeah. A lot of people are working from home. I think it'll come back. It's coming back probably slower than landlords would like. Right. But there was a reason why these office buildings were built. I think people work better together in those environments, and those drivers haven't gone away. We've had this temporary reason to keep people away from each other, and that is fading fast.
Peter Pfeifer is our guest for a couple more minutes. He's candidate for St. Louis County Assessor. We should say a Republican candidate for St. Louis County Assessor, running against Jake Zimmerman in the general election. Peter Pfeifer, last question for you here. Why should somebody vote for you?
Well, I appreciate the question, McGraw. I've been in the commercial real estate business for over 20 years. I understand value. I've been helping landlords and tenants, and I've been helping sellers and buyers negotiate value for over 20 years. I understand what value is. I also understand there's a difference between market value and an assessor's appraisal of the value. I've done a lot of reading. There's a 750-page book called The Appraisal of Real Estate. There's a lot of pages in there that indicate what value is. There's also state law that guides what the assessor does. I understand what that is. Some of those laws have been convoluted by court cases. I've read those too. I've read most things that would put people to sleep just to look at them, not just to read them and understand them, but it really is. It's slower than watching grass grow, some of this stuff. But we need an assessor in St. Louis County that is an advocate in the assessor's office. And I've been advocating for people for over 20 years in the commercial real estate business. So our assessor needs to be able to advocate for our taxpayer. That's why it's an elected position.
What is your website for people to find out more?
Well, I appreciate you asking me that as well. Newassessor.com.
Newassessor.com.
Thank you, McGraw.
Peter Pfeifer, thanks for coming in. Good luck.